subjects had no bread. Do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of The Peasant's Perspective. We had a normal start.
Yes.
Ron's in studio. Makes a whole 120 seconds now. Good. We're rocking, man. We are here. Frazier missed the pre-start this morning. Did we? What do you mean you missed the pre-start?
I didn't do a pre-start.
You didn't do that? We just did
Well,
that.
like a pre-roll.
Oh.
Like where we just sit around chat.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do that this morning.
Yeah.
I haven't really been doing that because I've been by myself. Which, you know, our chats tend to kind of look something a little bit like this. I mean, this, to me, seems like a pretty classic family barbecue. This is pretty much the perspective my parents and my family members have had of me all these years.
Just like Joe Biden, they didn't, for president, that wasn't an inauguration. That was his funeral. Because the laws and orders tells you the guns.
Yeah, he was dead.
When they inaugurated him, that was his funeral in front of everybody, and you never knew.
Yeah,
I can show you the laws and orders.
So who was the man we kept seeing?
He's an actor in a mask. Oh, Kamala Harris is being played too. She's got mask on. They have a mask, and they can put a thing in there to sound like the person when they talk. And you know, like actors and actresses, when you watch a movie, you're like, man, they played that part good. Yeah. Well, you're watching a movie. And a movie has to have what? Great actors. King Charles is the King of England, right? You think old Trump's supposed to walk in front of the King of England? No. And he walked in front of the Queen. The monarch is dead, honey. They trying to tell y'all. I don't know all that from simple thinking. I bagpipes. You know, they saw the bagpipes and it was playing what? Amazing Grace. That's military laws and orders for burial. You decide.
Well, it sounds like you decided.
Well, there pretty much ain't no other decision after you see law and order. If I died just because I'm out here. Billy Graham should have been on the vice president's plane. He should have got bagpipes played. Billy Graham, the greatest preacher of all time. Right?
All right.
She doesn't even have a beer in her hand.
I know. I remember in season 1, we were doing something and played some news clip. You're like, man, I thought this was like a conspiracy show. You thought this was a conspiracy show? This news commentary.
Exactly.
There's so many things to that. I'm listening to him like, yeah, no, a lot of people think it was Jim Carrey playing the actor or some other actor that was named, or it was a robot walking around with Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Right? He was sworn in late. He didn't put his hand on the Bible. There was like CGI, people popping in and out of the background. Like,
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
It really did have the 7-gun salute instead of the other one, the 21 gun or whatever they're supposed to have. They did have the funeral honors. It is a little weird. I don't know. Anyways, I thought we'd start out this morning because it's pretty funny. And, you know, the humor's all around. This is, I can never remember this news guy's name. Joe Kiernan. Joe Kiernan had Hakeem Jeffries on. Now, Hakeem Jeffries didn't get a word in here, but Joe Kiernan is just kind of like, hey, you guys are acting like everything's bad, but I don't know if that's really the case.
All I can tell you is that the inflation rate itself was 2.7% in the most recent read year over year versus it got to a high of 9% under Biden. Stocks are at record highs. Unemployment is 4.2%. That's full employment. The GDP was 3%. The border is actually secure. We've got trade deals with EU, Japan, many more in the works, and trillions of dollars of foreign investment coming here. Iran's nuclear ambitions have been set back indefinitely. And I just wrote down a few things. So I just have to ask you, where is the calamity that you're talking about? And it almost seems like for Democrats, socialism is the answer to these problems. Or, I don't know, an end of democracy or something? But we just don't get it. I don't know about deflation and cost.
So that's a pretty good little rundown, Joe Kiernan. Like, so what are you freaking out about, Hakeem Jeffries? Everything's looking pretty good here. What do you got for us, Ron?
Oh, let's start out with I got to accept it.
Oh, got to do the thing.
Jeez. Well, let's be clear. Cryptocurrency is no longer emerging. It's here. Oh, jeez. Let's be clear. Cryptocurrency is no longer emerging. Can you turn my camera a little bit? It's here. And this latest move cements the reality in the biggest way yet. Trump Media Group just linked massive $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com, the world's top crypto platform. Holy smokes. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO, the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-free DeFi staking rewards and real-world perks like cashback on your spends to launch America's first CRO treasury. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there. What a tongue twister.
I know, right?
Want in on the action? Head to crypto.com today to grab some of CRO. Let's make crypto great again.
Okay. We'll get better, Ron. We'll get better. We got years to practice this. All right, let's check in with the chats before I show you a really interesting chart this morning. So for Razor, we already said you missed the pre-roll. Sorry about that. Good morning, John Attack. Shantini. Good morning, Taylor and Ron. Ponyboy Ep 3255. Good morning. I never say your full vanity name. I know who you are, but you have no vowels in your vanity name. Good morning. And pray the rosary daily. Happy Tuesday. Don't forget to, well, you guys have already commented, but anybody else who hasn't commented, make sure you comment. All right. And of course, don't forget to hit the repost button. Really does help out a lot, by the way. Okay. Now, on the screen here, got a little chart. And this caption here, Canada's immigration chart is the craziest thing I've ever seen. So this is Canada immigration, 1952 to 2025. Now, I'm not saying Canadian immigration mirrors American immigration by any means, but I can just imagine, right, being a Canadian here, and you're going along and you're getting here and you're like, man, they just keep, because, you know, this is a compound thing. Like, you let in 100,000 this year and 100,000 next year. Now there's 200,000, another 100,000, there's 3. It's compounding, right? So this chart really is going up, but, you know, you can see the continual let in of immigrants, and you could start looking around going, the demographics are starting to change. And then one day somewhere, I don't know, 2012, look at this line straight up. Now, the Overton window here between, say, here and here probably felt pretty dramatic. And I'm showing a little like 5-year gap. Right. Yeah. The right here, from here to here, people probably thought, we're finally getting a handle on it.
People are leaving.
People are leaving, or we're finally slowing down immigration. And then it was like, no, throw the barn doors open.
Now, is this a correction because they weren't keeping track?
No. This goes right along with American immigration policy, right? Donald Trump came in right around here and in America and tried to slow things down. Joe Biden came in and opened it up, but this was international.
So is this all the people that are like, I'm leaving America if Trump wins?
No, this is people immigrating from India and China. No, this is not American depatriating. No, that's not what this is. Okay. John Atakis says CRO was up 5% from last week. John Atakis, I need you to set me up a one of those crypto counts or whatever.
You want a ticker?
So just thinking about that, the immigration just exploding like that. And that's what happened in this country. It caught a lot of people off guard. It really has. I think a lot of people, you know, there's always been, since the 90s, really, since NAFTA came into place and jobs started going overseas at scale, right? I think a lot of people have been like, yeah, things are changing. But, you know, if you work hard, you can pick yourself up by the bootstraps, you can make it. And then 2020 happens and the border goes open wide. You know what I mean? And it's like, you just can't compete. It's It's very, very difficult. These are real structural issues that we struggle with. Now, I do believe in capitalism. I do believe that if you create value, dollars follows the value. But it's sure nice to have a game to play where the rules are consistent and you can plan ahead. And that's what's happening right now is you can't plan ahead. What is this country going to look like in 30 years, Ron? What's our financial system going to look like? How's that dollar going to be doing for you?
Well, I hope by then Jesus is here.
So I live on a silver standard. Right. Okay. We've talked about this. So silver last night was at $48 an ounce. Just for perspective, around the time I went to prison, it was about $19 an ounce.
I remember when it was like $350, and that wasn't that long ago.
Gold was like $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 an ounce when I went to prison. It breached $4,000 yesterday.
Oh, snap.
Now, for just a moment, close your eyes and pause and think about a pile of money and a pile of gold and how they're supposed to represent each other. Mm-hmm. Your money is deflating so fast right now. You thought 9% inflation a couple of years ago was bad. It's just starting to take effect. Mm-hmm. Like you saw the price in eggs. You know, the price of eggs wasn't really inflation. That was bird flu. It really wasn't inflation. But the price of eggs will get to that $9 or whatever it was a dozen not too long from now. Because you can't have gold and silver doubling, and in silver's case, almost tripling in value in 12, 18 months and not think that your dollar hasn't decreased in value an equivalent amount, right? So all of these policies, everything that happens in the news, I feel every day almost kind of like it's Groundhog Day. I wake up, Democrats do something blatantly illegal, like mess with our currency, invade our streets, open the border, or as we're going to find out today, spy on Republican politicians. Woo, big reveal. GOP politicians are outraged.
Oh.
Nothing happens.
Incense.
And we wake up again tomorrow. And we do it all over
that's
again.
Pretty much. You know, and you can move around the people and change the names and change the D's and R's, and it's always the same.
Yeah. Did you show the picture?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I was like, I'm looking over there. They're light. So I wake up, Democrats do something blatantly illegal, and GOP politicians are outraged. Yesterday, Democrats did something pretty dang illegal. Actually, they did it a long time ago. They just finally got caught.
Chief investigative reporter John Solomon. My understanding you might have other breaking news tonight as well.
Yeah, well, let's start with what we know. So the reason that the FBI got these phone records and can conduct this analysis is that Jack Smith got a grand jury subpoena for them, and then the FBI takes him and then analyzes it and sends it back to Jack Smith. Arctic Frost is starting to look like an enemies list investigation.
Okay, so Operation Arctic Frost, what is it? It was the operation that led to the Jack Smith investigation. And in Arctic Frost, they spied on, 92 conservative groups, including Turning Point USA.
I don't remember this part, and I don't know who Jack Frost is.
Jack Smith.
I don't know.
Jack Smith was the prosecutor for Trump, counsel. I love having you as a co-host, man. It's like man on the street every morning. I don't know who that guy is. Oh, he's the guy who almost stole your republic. Oh, okay, cool. That's the Genghis Khan that came.
String him up.
Yeah, that's our generation's Genghis Khan. He was running around for 4 years over there in D.C. Okay, so Jack Smith and Operation Arctic Frost, right, spying on conservatives and Republicans. And the thing we found out yesterday was not only they were spying on conservative groups. This is kind of like one of those, and so. Like, did you not think this was happening? Kind of a moment for those of us that have been on the receiving end of the
Patriot Act.
Yeah, exactly. Like, did you not realize this was what they were doing? So anyways, they were spying on senators.
The FBI in 2022 opens up this investigation. This is from the great work of Senator Grassley and Kash Patel getting these records to the American public. They open up and say, let's look at everybody that was contesting the 2020 election as part of a grand conspiracy. The FBI gets at the Jack Smith. Jack Smith goes and gets the grand jury subpoenas. The grand jury subpoenas bring the phone records in. And before you know it, the FBI is starting to snoop at every phone call that 8 senators and 1 House member made, all of them Republicans. It's a really troubling, I think, diagram of how the deep state was working under Joe Biden. The FBI, the DOJ, working hand in glove to pry into the lives, the conversations, and the data of Republicans. Arctic Frost now has an extraordinary toll. I think one of the largest tolls I've ever seen in an investigation. 92 groups, including Charlie Kirk's group. 2 president and a vice president had their phones taken, turned over by Joe Biden to Jack Smith. and now 8 senators and 1 House member. One of the largest dragnets in search of a crime. Doesn't appear they found it, but they were certainly looking for a crime on all these different people. It looks like a dragnet, an enemies list. A lot of people I'm talking to in the FBI deeply concerned about it now, but also seem to know about it in 23 and 24, telling me we kind of had a bad feeling this was a bad thing going on.
Oh, I'm glad you had a bad feeling that there was a bad thing going on. I'm so glad you honored your oath and turned whistleblower when it was happening and not when it was politically expedient.
So these 8 senators, were they on like some committee or were they just random senators?
Well, let's hear from them.
Oh.
Of these telephone records, which I think emphasizes the political weaponization that was behind all this effort. And we're still getting more information, but we've released some records today, and I'll let Senator Johnson take over from here, and then each one of you colleagues can join in when you want to, whatever you want to say.
First of all, I want to thank Senator Grassley.
Just for the record, Ron, because in 30 years, you'll be like Chuck Grassley.
I know. That's why I'm laughing.
That's why you're laughing. You will be Chuck Grassley. Like, does anybody else want to say anything?
You'll get your turn.
Yeah. His relentless advocacy for whistleblowers that a lot of this information is surfacing right now. We wouldn't know about the list of 100 Republican entities that were targeted by Jack Smith's Arctic Frost investigation. I don't think we know about this as well. So we need whistleblowers. I think Dan Bongino and other folks in the FBI, they don't know where all the records are hidden. They still don't. They're not necessarily getting 100% cooperation. But this is outrageous what has happened. I just want to give you a timeline of this. I think you've already got the FBI sheet that shows the number of members of Congress that were targeted. Representative Kelly, Senators Graham, Haggerty, Hawley, Sullivan, Tuberville, myself, Senator Lummis, and Blackburn. This memo was dated September of 2023. To put it all into context, the Mar-a-Lago raid occurred in August of 2022. Jack Smith announced the indictments against President Trump in August of 2023. So this is almost 2 months later. They're casting this net, this fishing expedition against members of the Senate and the House. Again, I've been investigating this with Senator Grassley. This doesn't surprise me, but it should shock every American.
Should shock you, but are we?
Of what the Biden administration has done. By the way, this is the first time I was targeted by the FBI. Under the Obama administration, the same thing happened to both Senator Grassley and I. As part of the Foreign Influence Task Force, we were giving a briefing to try and convince us that the Hunter Biden laptop was no big deal. Basically, trying to throw us off the track. So this is major corruption that's being revealed inside the Obama and Biden Department of Justice, the FBI. And I'll turn it over to, I guess, Senator Haggerty, who's one of the individuals. Again, none of us were subject to targets of this investigation. There's no predicate. There's no reason for this other than a fishing expedition, which, again, should outrage and shock every American. Senator Haggerty.
Okay, so basically they just spied on these 8 senators and House representative, and they were doing it under Barack Obama too, so we're going to get to the bottom of it this time.
Okay.
All right, wake up. Democrats do something blatantly illegal. Democrat senators get outraged. Republican senators get outraged. I go to sleep. I wake up. Cycle starts over.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. And Chairman Grassley, thank you for your leadership in making this happen. This is an extraordinary revelation that just took place this afternoon. My colleagues and I found out, all of us Republicans, by the way, that we were placed under investigation by this FBI, under the Joe Biden FBI that was led, I presume, by Jack Smith and his predecessors. This isn't the first time that it's happened, though. Senator Johnson just mentioned this.
Okay, not the first.
I served on the Trump transition team.
I'd feel better if it was the first.
In 2016, Senator
really
Blackburn was vice chair of the transition committee then, as were probably a dozen or more members of Congress. To think that we were surveilled by the Obama FBI, this corruption runs deep, and it's gone on for far too long. And the fact that it's happened here again, the fact that they are looking at our records in 2023, sitting members of the United States Senate. Again, the only thing that we have in common, the only thing in common in this entire list is that we're all Republicans.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I like her necklace.
They've decided to come after us. This is his part.
So this is Marsha Blackburn. Hey, we just go roll through the list. I mean, these people are incensed, right? We're finally going to get to the bottom of this. Like, someone's going to go to prison for this.
What we know is this, that the
it's like the delayed Jack waiting for arrest.
Under Joe Biden and under Barack Obama, that they exercised activity that they had no authority to exercise. And as Senator Haggerty mentioned, we know what they did in 2016 to the Trump transition team. And now we find out that after the Mar-a-Lago raid, after the indictment of President Trump, they surveil us, people who support President Trump, members who are all Republicans. But it shows you how out of control and rotten to the core and politicized the FBI had become, and how they had absolutely no problem at all whatsoever with political weaponization. We appreciate the information we've gotten today. We look forward to further investigation on this.
I would say we look forward to further litigation on this. We're going to look into this. What are you looking into? You were spied on. They looked into you.
I feel like one of those guys in the World War I trenches, and I'm ready to just get up and start walking across no man's land.
Just because why not?
Why not? Exactly.
That's, the theme here is Democrats are like, stop doing to us what we've been doing to you. Don't you believe in the Constitution?
Right.
You know we don't, right? I mean, you can't hold us to that standard. We've never declared the Constitution as our guide. We only use it against you. You know what I mean? And then the Republicans are like, we're going to have to investigate this. We're going to have to follow some due process. Maybe in 4 years, we might get a subpoena out.
We all know what's going on here. We need to get to the bottom of this.
We need to get to the bottom of this. I didn't think I was coming to North Korea. I thought I was coming to Washington.
Well, they just briefed us, Larry. Dan Bongino came over, deputy of the FBI. We had all of us in the room. This is the first we've heard of it. Obviously, I figured we would be somehow breached by China or North Korea, but not by your own government. This is all about Donald Trump. I'm an ally of Donald Trump. I love this country. The Democratic Party, the Biden administration tried to destroy this country. They tried to keep intact and contact with their enemies, so to speak, which was people that love this country, such as me and the other senators. But this is outrageous. They told us our phone numbers were breached, but we do not know that if there any content was added in there. It's the investigation just started. This is out of control. It's going to get worse and worse. It's again, I have nothing to hide. But
so if I was a Democrat,
why would you just throw that in there?
I got nothing to hide. It's all AI. It's all fake. Those files aren't mine.
Jeez. I got nothing in my hands.
So I can't play the clip because it was Tucker Carlson was on Joe Rogan, but he was talking about speaking to a very high level bureaucratic person, right? He's in the bureaucracy, and he was talking about, I know the lives of those people. I lived in D.C. I went to cocktail parties with those people. They have horrible, perverse lives. A lot of them have huge sexual deviancy problems on top of some other things, drugs included. And he goes, it's not hard for me to imagine some of them are blackmailed. Why do they make some of the decisions they make? We sit in private. They tell me their values, their principles, and then they go and they completely violate those. Even in our private conversations, they're violating their principles. Right. And he's like, it feels like blackmail. And he was telling this to this high level bureaucrat who was like, I know. And he's like, so we're just I-knowing this now.
I guess. Yeah.
Like, go bang down some doors and make the crimes go away. You know what I mean?
Well, I would, but they got blackmail on me, bro.
Don't you know they raided the president's house, so they got a warrant on the Tennessee Senate.
Right.
No surprise. Last night when I was at the GOP meeting, by the way, Charlie Kirk's death really woke people up because there was about 3 times the amount of people present last night as there were last month.
You sent me a clip and I listened to it and I couldn't tell what was going on except for there was a lot of excitement.
Okay, so a couple people resigned last night, different reasons, but a lot of it had to do with the pressure of Charlie Kirk being assassinated and political pressure. And these people have been targets because of their positions in the political party and blah, blah, blah. Long story there, but somebody's running for office in this county. And as part of getting that position, they have recruited people to come be precinct committee officers or people. And traditionally you apply to be a precinct captain. There's a shortage. They appoint you, you're in, you get voting rights in the local party. Well, this guy doesn't, these people don't normally come to the meetings. Well, he's recruited people that have signed up to be PCOs to vote for him.
Okay.
And they tried to change the rules last night so that we couldn't appoint his PCOs, but could appoint other PCOs that were there, which is not the way it's ever been done. You apply, you get it. Right. They have a quick background check like, oh, I'm not a pedophile, you're in. Right. So they were blocking some people. So that was where it was like, you can't be doing this. You know, you can't. It was back and forth. He's a Republican candidate. Right. You know, how you're blocking people from, it was very Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders-esque 2016 going on in the local Republican Party, where clearly the party leadership was trying to influence the actual party members, who is us, from who we would appoint and support as a candidate, because apparently this guy's like a, you know.
So this is part of the selection process.
This was sausage being made as well. Anyways, it was pretty fun.
All right.
This is
Good
like some
sidebar.
energy. Okay, so this is Jack Smith, which, by the way, I had two people walk up to me yesterday, and I know there's a couple other people that are listeners because they've told me in months past. I had two people walk up to me that I didn't know listened to the show. One of them walked in, looked over, and saw me, goes, "Oh, I was just listening to your podcast on the way here," and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then another lady at the end walked up. She leaned into my face. Taylor, it's an old lady. She's Taylor, yeah. She goes, "I listened to your podcast. It's so good. Thank you." Oh, thank you. So, Ron, we're doing something.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so this is Jack Smith, and the audio on this is a little hard to hear, but Jack Smith is, I don't know, talking at one of these symposium things, and he's talking about how now he's over at some, nonprofit association of lawyers who are helping DOJ people who are there be whistleblowers as they get fired, support networks, and he thinks this is the most important work happening in the world right now.
And it's former DOJ prosecutors, former DOJ staff. They are DOJ. They are checking whistleblowers. They are giving counsel. They go to everything they need. So these are folks who serve the public by being prosecutors, being civil litigators. And they can't do that anymore, so they find another way to serve. So I do like now. And they are helping so many people.
They're doing more good in the world right now than anyone else. I mean, they're helping so many people, specifically former prosecutors and litigants for the Department of Justice who've been fired.
It seems like a very, very small class.
It does seem like. So is there like, what would be the example of this? Like, we're rescuing the rescuers? I mean, like, we're doing more good because for every person we rescue, they rescue 100. What are you talking about?
Only this group, we could probably put the whole list of all the names on 2 or 3 sheets of paper.
More good than anyone else in the world. Okay. So this we've kind of already beat this to a pulp here, but this is Will Cain getting the news that Jack Smith was spying on Republican senators. Wah, wah. I really do wah it because it's like, yeah, no kidding. Like, did you not think this was happening?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Circle of death. All right, moving on.
Boofering. Oh, we'll get it. We just got to be persistent.
Fox News alert. Fox Digital exclusively reporting moments ago, the FBI says former special counsel Jack Smith tracked private communications and calls of nearly a dozen Republican senators. This during the January 6th investigation. Joining us here in Dallas, retired U.S. Army veteran and current Texas Congressman Wesley Hunt. Congressman, thanks for being with us here today. This news is breaking as we speak. Yes. This investigation was called Arctic Fox. This was designed to look into January 6th, and this is pretty stunning. We, of course, knew about the way that the Justice Department under Joe Biden was looking into President Trump. Yes. Now we find out a dozen Republican senators. Your thoughts?
This is the weaponization of the United States government against senators. And let me tell you something, our job is to protect this country against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And last I checked, every Republican senator does not fit that mold. And so keep in mind, if but not for President Trump getting reelected, we would have never known any of this.
A Republican senator does not fit that mold. Oh, my dear, I don't think you saw Christopher Way's release on white extremism.
That's how consequential this last election was. It's time for us to elucidate the public as to what the Democrats have been doing to us for the past 10 years. And that is using the federal government and the DOJ against not just President Trump, but against their political opponents.
It's time to tell the public.
Elucidate me.
This constitutional republic stands for. And I am so glad that we're actually having these conversations. And we see handcuffs. Heads need to roll for this. People need to be punished for this because, again, this is...
Did you see the size of his eyes? He looked serious. They might be serious this time, Ron. They might be.
Constitutional. They've gone too far and they've overplayed their hand.
Here's the names of the senators that had their phones or communications tapped by Special Counsel Jack Smith in the Arctic Fox investigation. You have Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Marsha Blackburn, Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Josh Hawley, Senator Cynthia Loomis of Wyoming, Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, Dan Sullivan of Alaska, and Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. This, for all the talk, Congressman, of a threat to democracy, of authoritarianism, of treason, of a government run amok and working against the people. And we've learned the power of projection. We truly have learned the power of projection on everything, including, I believe, from race to COVID.
Yes.
Here we have projection when it comes to authoritarianism. But if this doesn't fit the bill, if this doesn't fit the definition, what is the definition of authoritarianism?
This is the quintessential definition of it. And I'm somebody that has skin in this game. I'm a United States congressman now running for Senate. My name could easily be on that list. So this is why we have to rectify these issues immediately, like ex post facto. We have got to get this done because this cannot continue to happen. And then those that break the law in this manner must be...
Ron, it's so good to have you back. It's so good to have you back because sometimes you get into this and you actually buy their bullcrap. You know what I mean?
I know, like, how about 4 years ago?
Yeah. I remember when Trump tweeted out a picture, the president of the United States tweeted out a meme saying, "When do the trials for treason begin?" I still haven't.
You found out recently that you were
on like 6 years of a bet. So we've known they committed treason for. I'd be dead if I kept holding my... I went to prison from the time that happened. I've served an entire prison sentence.
Taylor,
I went through an entire
we got to investigate this. We'll get to the bottom of it. You just rest easy.
It didn't even take them 24 hours to get an indictment on me, man. They don't need that much time to do this. This is crazy. This is what's his name? Eb Hamadeh or whatever from Arizona. And there's more to this, right? There were a lot of candidates and other people put on the quiet skies list. Hey, I really appreciate the awareness of this stuff. I'm glad that they're dragging some senators through what they literally dragged me through. Like, I went through this no-fly list. It was very inconvenient. No, you think?
Hey.
Just got to hit the play button. That's all. Doesn't feel that complicated. Apparently it really is complicated. Oh, if anybody's watching this.
Oh, they are. Dang it.
I feel like I'm drunk clicking. Like I can't quite get the clicker to.
Found out recently that you were added to this list after Senator Rand Paul informed you of that. You were added to this list, though, after you decided to challenge the election results, I believe back in 2022. What was your reaction to finding this out from the senator?
Hey, good to be with you. You know, it wasn't surprising, I guess. I mean, we all knew that what Biden administration was doing was targeting and harassing so many Americans just for simply having the viewpoints that are against the norm for the Democrat Party. But the timing was interesting when, on the list, it had December of 2022. This was literally within days of me filing my election lawsuit challenging the results of the 2022 Attorney General race, which I was a part of, that was decided by 280 votes out of 2.5 million. And at the same time, you had the media, the Democrats calling me a threat to democracy. Remember, 2022 was a really dark time. I mean, that was when the Biden administration was really aggressive and anybody who was questioning the results of elections. So I got a call from Senator Rand Paul's office last week. My team did, and they let us know that we were one of the 3 Republican congressmen being targeted. And I decided to come forward because if they targeted me, they're targeting thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of other Americans. I wanted to at least know that it's okay to come forward. Look at Tulsi Gabbard. Only in America can Tulsi Gabbard go from being a target of the deep state federal government now to being the director of national intelligence. And that's the testament to the United States of America, that the good guys still have a shot. the hour is getting late, but we still have a shot. So I'm glad to see Senator Rand Paul expose it, and to have Secretary Kristi Noem and President Trump get rid of the Quiet Skies program, because as you mentioned, it was not effective and it cost billions of dollars, and it started under Barack Obama. Yet we just discovered this secret watch list that they had going on. So I'm glad to see President Trump take the initiative and get rid of it.
He is right? Only in America can you go from being on the watch list to running the watch list.
Yeah.
Right. Only in America can that happen. Only in America can you go from being shot at by your own government to running that government. Okay.
What were those 3 little things on his desk? We got to get some of those.
I didn't see. What was it? I just closed it.
Oh, they're little. Oh, I'm sorry. Little round like medallion things that were sitting on his desk. I was like, oh, we got to get some of those. Those are legit.
What it was?
They're like little. They're probably like medallions or seals that were given to him by a senator or something.
Oh,
it's just nothing.
So we got to meet some senators. I don't want to be spied on, Ron. I don't want any connection.
Well, hold on.
I wouldn't want to compromise their security by associating with them, because I know I'm being spied on.
Do you feel like you've been being watched? I feel like I've been being watched. Have you been being watched?
So last night, at the Republican meeting, I got up and spoke for just a moment about that. We watched Erica Kirk's speech. And I got up and spoke just a moment about Charlie Kirk, because one of the things I'll forever be grateful for was I was in prison. Donald Trump won the election, and I got on the radio and I heard Charlie Kirk say, okay, next thing's next. We got to get the J6ers freed. And I thought, I know that Charlie Kirk and Julie Kelly were probably the 2 most, and Susan Monk, I can't forget her, were probably the 3 most influential people in getting the pardons to happen. So I'll forever be grateful for that. And one of the other things that I recognize too is Charlie was kind of a brother in arms. Like, we were attacked and being attacked and working against the same, ideology, the same entity. And so even though we didn't know each other, we very much have the same message. Yeah. And I think a lot of conservatives, Republicans are starting to feel the same.
We got a lot of brothers all across this whole great country.
A lot of brothers in arms. Yeah.
We just don't know them.
And anyways, and then last night when I was talking to my wife, I was like, if you really think about it, right? Started the podcast, went to January 6th, got indicted, got debanked, employer got debanked. My business partner got debanked.
There was lots of impact.
Audited by the IRS. No flight.
Dude, your entire life was flushed down the toilet like instantly. Just
dude, totally right. Yeah. And then even flying, like even getting pardoned, right, and flying back. Mm-hmm. My wife got added to the no skies list. So I'm like, it'd be funny because she hasn't flown since. And I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if you're still on the list? Like, they took me off because I'm on a J6 list. Like, take these names off. And they left you on.
That's entirely possible.
It's entirely possible. It would take about 6 to 8 years of appeals to even find out if you're officially on the list. Right. So, but then the other thing that happened too was we had a laptop that she'd used the entire time I was gone. It had all of my work on it, all of my creative content, like pictures, tons of stuff. It's the family laptop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it got fried on the flight home.
Oh.
Like, worked just fine, and then all of a sudden won't boot up, completely toasted. Like, I don't know, somewhere in the airport, TSA security, little inspection, boop, laptop won't turn on. It's done.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like one of those things where I'm like, last night I was like, we've always had such an attitude that this just happens. And, sometimes you get the bad luck lottery, and don't take anything personal. Just keep your head up. The best revenge is the life we'll live. Don't live in the past.
Sure.
Can't cry over spilt milk. All the platitudes.
Yeah.
All the platitudes. Okay? And last night I was like, honey, I think they really did target us. I was like,
finally.
I think I can finally say, I think they tried to destroy us. You know what I mean? Like, it's taken me a long time to really stack it all up, but I think they were trying to do us in.
Hey, man, that's what I've been here for, just to let you know.
And I was like, even after Trump
was targeted,
I was like, even after Trump was elected, 2 days later, like, you got added to the no flight list. What are the odds that there were a bunch of really pissed off workers at DHS? We're still going to screw with those guys.
For as much as we cover here, and as much as people see us cover and talk and whatever, I've been telling Taylor, people look at me. I've been telling Taylor that he's been targeted for the last 5 years. And up until 2 weeks ago, you're like, nah, I'm just a guy.
I'm just a peasant. Don't you get it? Like, they can't target me. I'm just a mealworm,
And then I'd be like,
turns out they used me to get to the senators.
And then every once in a while I'd be like, I felt like there was some guy who followed me in Costco, and you're like, You're nobody. Why would they follow you? I know. We are nobodies. Why are they following us?
And apparently, people at the Republican Party last night are like, thanks for the show, man. I'm like, oh, we do have influence. The deep state might know more about us than we know about ourselves.
For sure.
All right, so this is Joe Borrelli, former Republican leader for the New York City Council, and he's talking about some of the things that kind of happened during the Mar-a-Lago raid, about the cover photos and things like that. And listen to the CNN panelists. Now, keep in mind, they've been on the air this whole time. They've watched this thing all happen, and they're completely baffled. Like, oh, those weren't real.
According to Jack Smith, I think there's been a broader politicization of the FBI. We had an FBI agent plead guilty to falsifying records so that he can get a wiretap on the Trump campaign back in 2016. That happened. You have this BS raid on Mar-a-Lago where the FBI brought cover sheets of top secret and sprayed them around the floor and took pictures. Where did they end up? Right?
The FBI brought those sheets?
They did bring the sheets. The FBI brought the top secret cover sheets and replaced other documents.
Just so you know who's asking, the FBI brought those sheets? That's Jeffrey Toobin. For those of you that are real aficionados, you know why he was fired the first time from CNN. But he's like, he's their legal analyst. That's what he does, is legal. They brought those cover sheets? Oh, I'm sorry. Have you missed the last 4 years?
If you didn't know that detail, you should probably just keep your face shut
up on TV.
Those, put them on the floor, then took photographs, and then leaked the photographs. That's what actually happened. This agency has a leaking problem. That's why James Comey's under indictment right now.
The photographs were attached to court documents.
But they weren't of anything relevant.
They were attached to court documents, bro.
But here's the thing. They leaked those things, but they were attached to court documents. I know. That was how they leaked them. They weren't real evidence. That's like me going, completely on. Here's some stuff I brought from my office. Let me put it in the suspect's house, take a picture of it, show it to the public, and be like, look, he had classified documents. No, you didn't. You had classified documents and brought them to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, but we took a picture of them as Exhibit A.
They did that? Yes. That's one of the reasons the case got thrown out, you dum-dum.
The purpose was that you saw them, you in the media.
Joe, those were court documents, okay? They weren't leaked, A. And B, what did you want them to do? Take pictures of top secret documents and post the top secret documents?
I would expect that we wouldn't do a
yes, that's what I wanted.
How about take pictures of the carpet with nothing on it?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing there.
How about not raid a former president's house who has the right to have those documents? I don't know. It's so funny because the farther out we get from that, the more we know. It was just a completely fabricated raid. I actually at the time thought, okay, he had classified documents. Now, the more I'm like, oh, wow, that it really was like. This goes along with me not accepting the targeting and like, oh, I just randomly got audited right after I got right. Apparently the Treasury thinks I'm a national security risk. I can't have a bank account, right? These are totally unrelated things.
By the way, Taylor, this is a conspiracy show.
Yeah, this is a conspiracy show. The grand conspiracy show. One of the few shows that will have followed it from beginning to end as a participant.
And now that your eyes are clear, we can actually make some progress.
Yeah. All right. So Stephen Miller had one of the best clips on CNN. And I wish I didn't have this weird Benny Johnson thing here, but this is one of the best clips. Now, listen to the CNN commentator who goes, are we having this huge military response for what amounts to basically just protests? Now, if you remember January 7th in the District of Columbia, they brought down the entire military force to lock that city down.
Democratic president someday calls the National Guard to a red state over what they see as open rebellion, but is what amounts to a demonstration that gets rowdy.
Pictures of their kids.
Wait, go back to this. I wonder if it hurt coming out of his mouth. I wonder if his lips burned as the words came out. What amounted to a demonstration gone okay.
Rowdy.
It's a little rowdy.
Democratic president someday calls the National Guard to a red state over what they see as open rebellion, but is what amounts to a demonstration that gets rowdy. I mean, is that not a fear?
And they're posting pictures of their kids because it's a demonstration, and they have a sniper on top of a building firing a high caliber rifle at a nice facility because it's a demonstration, and they are engaging in vehicle ramming.
But the National Guard isn't being sent to Texas.
Because it's a
the National Guard isn't being sent to Dallas, where that sniper was.
Because the Dallas Police Department and the governor of Texas, well, you walked right into that one, have responded to every call for assistance and help. They gave a stand-down order in Chicago, and they gave a stand-down order in Portland.
Do you realize that there's 11,000 federal law enforcement officers in Oregon? That's larger than the size of the FBI. Local and state police are resourced to deal with this kind of riotous assembly, but they have refused. They've been given a stand-down order. So
they've
we
arrested
need
some
to use
70
National
people
Guard and
since
federal
June.
troops.
They've been
to fill
arresting
in
folks
that
on the
breach.
ground. They've been arresting folks on the ground. They refute what you're saying outright.
We literally have the 911 audio of the stand-down order in Chicago, and we have documented inside of DHS every single unresponded to 911 call over the recent weeks and months.
So we played that yesterday. They did a stand-down order, which, by the way, and this is kind of the whole point of this, we are approaching legitimate insurrection and a civil war, a hot one. Now,
for real.
We kind of sometimes have to forget everything we know about a thing and then look back and put ourselves there as if we were living in it, right? If you're in the Civil War, it's rumors of war. It's stuff that's happening over there, right? It's in Chicago. We don't live in Chicago. It's over in Seattle. It's way over there. Oh, it's peaceful during the day. Okay, at night, some people kind of show up, but I don't go there at night, right? These 100-day standoffs. Who would go to a federal building for 100 days in a row? What better? Do you have anything better? Go on a freaking date. You know what I mean? Like, what? How are you doing that? This is open rebellion. And then you've got these neo-Confederates that are like, oh, don't bring the troops here. You know, we don't want to help you. We want states' rights over federal rights. I thought this was decided in the Civil War. The United States is America, right? Like, you're not really an independent sovereign state, except for, you know, capital punishment. And is there anything else they're sovereign over? I don't think anything.
Well, when it comes to application of certain rules, states get to choose certain things, but that's about it.
That's about it. Yeah. So it is, you've got these neo-Confederates, which are made up of Gavin Newsom, Pritzker, you know, a whole bunch of these Democrat state senators that really do want to run their states like a full-on federal government. They just want money from the feds and nothing else, right? Well, they don't just want money from the feds and nothing else. They want support in implementing their agenda, clearly. Okay. So let's kind of change topics a little bit before we jump into all the protests and the different things that are happening around the country. This is Angus King. And there was a video that I failed to save yesterday that was of a Washington state business owner talking about her most difficult challenge right now as a business owner is not what she would think is turning a profit. It's not finding customers. It's not qualified employees. It's paying for health insurance.
Really?
Yeah. She said health insurance for her small business is bankrupting her. It is taking all of the profit margin, all of it. And I guess prices have been going up year after year after year. Like, basically, you know, for every illegal immigrant that comes in, you got to pay 15 more bucks. Another immigrant comes in, you pay 15 more bucks because you're paying for them. There's just no way around it. The numbers all show that. They don't pay, you pay, which is why her premiums are out of control. And of course, the ACA is completely messed up, the marketplace, Obamacare. You overpay for it if you have to pay. If you don't pay, you don't pay anything, but that's because people are overpaying for it. So she's stuck in that ground where she's got to pay. And she's basically saying this can't happen. And the big, beautiful bill actually made this problem worse, right? At least for these people. So Angus King says in a vote for reopening, he's a Republican. He's changing his mind. He might vote to keep the government shut down.
I'm contemplating changing my vote unless the Republicans are more forthcoming about dealing with the ACA problem. The best we got was last Friday when the leader said he was open to conversations. That's not good enough. We need to deal with this problem. We need some assurance that they will deal with this problem. So far, that hasn't been forthcoming.
So tomorrow, you're not sure tomorrow how you vote?
I'm making my decision on a day-to-day basis based upon what I'm told. I think this is something that the president ought to be paying attention to because he's going to be facing huge premium increases all over the country in about 3 weeks. And when I'm saying huge, I mean in the tens of thousands of dollars to middle-income people. So that's why I think we've got to deal with this. And I was in the expectation that there would be some more forthcoming assurances about dealing with this issue, and it just hasn't happened.
Who let you?
So there are two major issues that Republicans are dealing with, which are genuinely not good, at least that I'm aware of. One is this ACA issue with healthcare. Right. They haven't really done anything to address the affordability of Obamacare. And I think that's because they don't like it. They want it to break. They would love for it to just be a complete stain on Obama's legacy as this unaffordable Obamacare. Right.
Well, sure. As long as we can have health care. I mean,
because it's a right. So anyways, so that's
no, that's not what I meant. So let me tell you my story about Obamacare, and it's much like the rest of America. You know, pre-Obamacare, I think our entire family's coverage was about $1,200, and now that we have Obamacare, the amount that we pay is something like, I don't know, $3,000 a month for basically 4 of us now. And if when the government decides they don't want to pay the subsidy portion of it, the part that you get, taken out or credited off of your taxes, our portion of the payment is going to be over $10,000 just for the 2 of us. And so, and this is what they're talking about. Your taxes, you get a credit every year as long as you're signed up for the Obamacare plan. And so then you don't end up having to pay those additional dollars because the government's crediting you that on your taxes. And so you only end up paying $3,000 or whatever. But it's going to be over $10,000 for every family if the credits don't come into place. Well, that's the real cost of the healthcare, was the over $10,000 for Obamacare. So we went from, it's like a 10x cost to the average consumer, the average citizen. 10x.
And that tax credit is new money that we now pay interest on for 30 years.
Yes. And
which is why we're still paying for retirement plans.
What I want to know is how come our healthcare system was so broken when it only cost me $1,200 a year or a month?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the reason it cost you $1,200 a month was because they could deny people who were, alcoholics.
Okay. So why can't we do that?
They could deny chronic smokers. So the whole thing with Obamacare was they got rid of denying people coverage at a...
No. That was the supposed reason, because they still deny people.
Oh, I know. No, I know. You can keep your doctor
deny
too.
everybody.
No, they didn't tell us anything true. They just said, oh, here's your problem. We'll fix it. And then, of course, when they don't fix it, they're like, we got to do something.
But I think we've ended up with basically the same coverage. I mean, we have the same clinics, the same hospitals, the same doctors, and now we're just paying 10x.
Yeah.
It's just 10x the cost.
Yeah. So Glenn Beck had Dr. Oz on his show, and he was asking him why they brought Pfizer, the much maligned Pfizer, into the White House and created this Pfizer market where now Pfizer's going to sell drugs through the government. Do you know what I'm talking about? So Pfizer now is doing the most favored nations things where they can't sell drugs in the United States for a penny more than they sell them anywhere else in the country.
Okay.
So they have to match the lowest price to sell to us. And Donald Trump brought Pfizer and Borla into the White House, and Pfizer's a great company, blah, blah, blah. Well, Glenn Beck asked Dr. Oz, why would you do that? We hate Pfizer. We want you guys to go all antitrust on them. We don't want you guys to bring them in and make them a partner.
Why Pfizer, for the love of Pete? Why did you have to start with Pfizer? Pfizer just has that bad COVID ring to it. Are they the only ones that are going to do it?
Oh, not at all. In fact, we have another company next week, but one the week after, another one the week after. We have them all coming in. Pfizer is a bellwether. A lot of the other pharmaceutical companies look to it for guidance and leadership. Its CEO, Borla, which that's his image right there, is a leader in the industry. And so when Pfizer was willing to come into the Oval Office and bend the knee and tell the president they understand why he feels so strongly about MFN, and they get the joke and they understand that they need to change their practices. And if we're willing to do what's required to make global pricing fair, it's going to work. Then it sends a signal to every other pharmaceutical industry player that this is the way it's going to have to be. And you know what? It's working. They're all coming in. They were coming in anyway, but now they're rushing in to get involved in the president's program. Our goal is to get every drug possible. We want 95% of all drugs sold in America to be at most favored nation pricing by the time the president has done this wonderful 4 years.
All right.
Good news, except for all the drugs.
Yeah.
But hey, if you lower the price, maybe we won't profit off the drugs that have more side effects than.
Do we know why Dr. Oz got the call? I mean, why is he in the position he's in?
Oh, he was on TV, Ron.
I know, but he's such a skis.
Allegedly,
in my opinion,
allegedly at one point in his life, he was a good doctor.
Yeah, he was a good doctor at one point.
And then he became an Oprah.
Yeah, he became a super sellout.
Well, okay.
And he sold all kinds of books and all kinds of retarded nonsense, and he told people bad advice.
I hear ya.
And now he's the man.
Don't look at me me to defend him. I don't. Who are you looking at me for?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I thought he was a horrible candidate against Fetterman, but now I kind of like Fetterman, you know. But I mean, he lost to a guy who literally had to use Google to talk for him. So you lost to a stroke patient.
Well, I know, but that's why I'm like, how is this guy the guy talking?
I know. No, he's not the best, but apparently he's doing something good over there at. He's not at HHS. He's at FDA. No, he's not at FDA. I can't remember.
He's somewhere important, but
Medicaid. I think he's Medicaid, Medicare, or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, Anna Paulina Luna was on the Danny Jones podcast, and she started talking about the Charlie Kirk assassination. And this is the first revelation we have heard of this flavor, kind of a complete different direction from where Candace Owens and many of the other, people looking into the assassination, the early stage conspiracy theorizers.
Like, where's the bullet coming from?
Where's the bullet coming from? Is Israel involved?
Right.
Are the Jews involved?
Right. Was there a mini bomb?
Yeah. Are pro-Palestinian people involved? Like,
why did they pave the whole place?
Yeah. Wait. There's a lot of questions. Admit.
Oh, I know. So
Anna Paulina Luna. This is the first time I've heard this connection.
There's been a lot of questions as to whether there was foreign government involvement
in which one?
In the assassination of Charlie Kirk, right? Okay. So we're going to address these theories right now. Back during the ICE riots, do you remember all of that at the beginning of the year?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were like, where are all of a sudden these big violent riots coming from? Who's funding these organizations? We found out that there was a foreign funding tied to an individual by the name of Neville Singham, who's a multi-billionaire. And he made his billions by working with the communist Chinese government. And he would and he's not a registered agent, a foreign agent, which is a FARA violation. So he's taking these millions, funneling it into organizations like the Party of Socialism and Liberation, who then in turn create these very radicalized movements, but they're not even American in theory or funded by American people. They're actually funded by foreign governments. The irony in all this is that Neville Singham, not just to Mandani's election, so like Jews from Mandani, but he actually also has ties to funding the Party of Socialism, the Salt Lake City queer group, which is now being investigated with former knowledge on whether or not they knew Charlie would be assassinated, who had ties to the shooter. So I do think that there's a foreign funding tie, but the question is which government, and I think it's tied to the Chinese.
Interesting.
I mean,
like called the queer what?
Salt Lake City queers.
Salt Lake City queers.
They're being investigated by the FBI. But if you look at the organization and where the funding comes from, I mean, not just them, they had ties to groups in Cuba and they are actually calling themselves terrorists. But not just that, they also have ties to the United Nations. So there's this aspect of a very pro-globalist and then a pro-Marxist movement to really sow discord and divide in this country. And that's why I recently posted on my social media, I was like, check out the bot farms that actually exist. And when you see all this shit talking on Twitter, make sure you're not arguing with the bot, because that's not like a fake thing. It happens. And so we have to realize that social media is being used to kind of stoke this divide. But in the instance of the shooter, Charlie Kirk was almost like a son to President Trump. Don Jr. will tell you was like his little brother.
Right.
Very close to JD Vance, very close to Kash Patel. So if you think for a second that there will be any amount of resource spared in his investigation, you're wrong, because I know these people and I've seen the way that this administration has worked towards at least issuing some of the darkest secrets. For example, what happened with CIA and the connection to JFK's assassination. I've met with the director, but to, I think, really take into account that you have the family that is seeing all this stuff out there right now. I hope that they get every single person involved. I definitely think that it's likely that more than one person knew about what was happening, because the Salt Lake City queer group immediately deleted their page. They're under investigation. There's a foreign funding tie there. For Tyler Robinson to say that Charlie was, hateful and that he just wanted to eliminate his hatefulness, where does that come from, right? Like if you actually listen to the things that Charlie was saying and you don't clip it, you can realize it was a very logical conversation that he was trying to have. If you don't agree.
Hey man, why do the queers, Salt Lake queers, get funding from a billionaire, but us peasants have to read ads for our pennies?
I don't know, but let's read
is it about ad time for us?
I do. I just got to click the button.
Button clicking. All right, I'll read a couple chats while you get that.
I got it.
Pony Boy, I worked at Blue Cross when they worked on it with Obama, the Obama White House. All those insurance companies worked with him to write it. Of course, they wouldn't make it hurt them. We kept getting emails from CO saying we're working alongside the White House. That's true. It's pretty much an insurance product. It's not single payer. It's take the bad system and make everybody use it. All right, what do we got?
All right, outdoor crew. If you're into fishing, camping, or getting off the grid, meet your new best friend, the Hunter Orange 25-quart cooler from Caddis Sports. This isn't your average cooler. It's roto-molded for max durability, bear-proof, and 20% lighter than other brands. So it's easy to haul, whether in the deep backcountry or just setting up at the dock. You'll get up to 3 days of ice retention thanks to thick, high-performance insulation that means cold, fresh drinks, fresh food, and fewer ice runs, whether you're chasing muttons offshore or posting up at the campsite. That's right, I said chasing muttons offshore. Best part, it's 40 to 50% cheaper than the big-name coolers, but still built to perform season after season. And just like Caddis Sports name brand gear, it's proudly made in the USA. Use Rumble at checkout for 10% off your order today. That's caddisports.com. Go grab the Hunter Orange 25Q cooler and keep your adventure ice cold.
Woohoo!
Was that better?
That's much better. You're doing amazing. I love it. I'm so glad you're back. It's so much easier to do this show with you here. I don't know what the user experience is, but for me, it's better.
Yeah.
All right. So this is Senator Tammy. No, this is not Senator Tammy Duckworth. Cannot remember her name. She's a former CIA officer. Go figure. And she is letting us know that Trump is putting out the authoritarian playbook in America.
American troops are now being deployed into American cities.
You guys want to see this?
Against the will of local authorities. It is not about safety. If President Trump cared about safety, he would send emergency funds to help. But this is about control.
Okay, we got to go back to that because it's not about safety. She's saying sending troops. Well, we'll just have to replay it.
Yeah.
American troops are now being deployed into American cities against the will of local authorities. It is not about safety. If President Trump cared about safety, he would send emergency funds to help. But this is about control and looking tough. The president
to a city that wants to defund the police.
Defund the police. There's active rioting.
The money will never get there.
Buildings, and you're not stopping. You've only had like 15, 20 years to work on the crime in Chicago.
I'm sorry, we cut her off at 19 seconds. She still has another minute to go.
Who wants to undermine the judiciary and turn the National Guard into a political weapon. Meanwhile, Republicans in Congress are cowed and nowhere to be found. This is what authoritarian governments do. They deploy their military against their own people. They prompt confrontation.
And then they go
and then
home.
they use that confrontation to justify military force and more control.
Nothing she is describing has ever happened.
What is she talking about?
Jack Smith just spied on U.S. senators. You arrested thousands of Americans. Everybody was on the no-fly list. No-fly list for you. No-fly list for you. People are getting debanked. You arrested like all of Donald Trump's golfing buddies. And they're like, this is the playbook. They've never done it. Republicans have never done it. The last time Republicans had a strong stance on anything was Abraham Lincoln. Are you kidding me? The authoritarian playbook?
It's an authoritarian playbook, one that was quite literally used by the British when they occupied American cities.
I got to get one of those on Amazon.
President Trump, as commander-in-chief,
said
the quiet part out loud last week. He told 800 of the senior-most generals to go after the, quote, enemy from within, and to, quote, use American cities as training grounds. Those are his words. And now they are acting on it. As a former CIA officer and Pentagon official, I do not say these things lightly. But for those of us who swore an oath to the Constitution, that oath is clear. Nobody gets to rewrite the Constitution to suit their political goals. Not a president, not an advisor.
You put me in jail. You put me in prison. Just saying, you don't get to rewrite the playbook to suit your own. So that playbook will now be used against you. Now, these aren't light words. Sometimes from the senators, right, we're like, oh, they're just playing cosplay. This is boots on the ground, guys. This is boots on the ground. And you need to understand that the mayor of Chicago has power. He runs a police force. They asked the police not to respond to help federal officers that were being attacked.
We played that clip yesterday.
Yes. Listen, you heard her words. Listen to his words.
I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now, because the president of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America. That's right. He's more interested in giving billions of dollars to other nations, while farmers in urban cities around this country are literally being destabilized. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's through executive order, or whether it's through the brave women and men who are serving as rapid responders. We literally have people who are volunteering in this city on the southwest side, the northwest side, all over this city to make sure that we're protecting children from being separated from their families. And we're talking about volunteers who are literally putting themselves at risk of being shot and killed by the federal government. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's our continuous struggle for liberation through organizing, and whether it's through executive action or whether it's through law, it would be nice if we actually had lawmakers in Washington that would actually hold this president accountable. And if they won't do it, then the city of Chicago will, using every single tool that's available to us.
What? You need to turn down the rhetoric, bro.
Very candidly.
So, are you aware, for Mormon lore, are you aware that Joseph Smith prophesied that the end of the country would start in Chicago?
No, I did
and
not
it would
know
be a fight between the police and the labor or something, which is basically what you're seeing. I'll show it to you after the fact. It's very, very... I'll show it to you. Okay, so this is a Border Patrol agent talking about what's been going on in Chicago as well as in other areas. Because you've got these guys like, oh, they federalized the troops. And the problem is this is not a chicken before the egg situation here. Okay, it is not that. There is clearly a start to the problem and then a reaction to the problem. So you can't be like, oh, they both kind of happen simultaneously. That's not what's going on here. This is the ICE officer saying why it is that they have to ramp up protection in Chicago, in Portland, but not in other areas.
So we have two ramming incidents, one with somebody with an assault weapon and shots fired in that particular incident, but we had two of them. Is that correct? Tell us what happened.
Sure. Well, there's a lot more than two. This has been happening quite often, but where the shots were fired, an individual decided it would be a good idea to try to ram a Border Patrol agent along with 10 other vehicles. They boxed Border Patrol agents in. Border Patrol agents responded, and in doing so, fired.
Have you ever gone somewhere in a caravan and you get separated from the other vehicles and there's like two other cars in the caravan?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's actually kind of hard to get from point A to point B with a caravan of vehicles.
Yeah.
10 vehicles boxing in ICE vehicles, 10 vehicles coordinating together. That takes pre-planning. That takes probably radios.
Yeah, CBs
or really
something.
Everybody's connected on what they're trying to accomplish. It's not a small thing.
Several shots striking an individual. That individual, as you said, was armed with a semi-automatic weapon. So that was two from a couple of days ago. Today, more of the same. Another semi-automatic weapon in the car of an individual that tried to box in a Border Patrol agent. Sean, we've seen more weapons here in Chicago in a month than we did in Los Angeles over a 4-month period. Definitely.
Come on. Hey, where do you get that semi-automatic weapon? Do you get that from Mexico? Because I can't get one here.
So, yeah, I know, literally. It's like impossible to get them these days. In Washington State, at least. Okay, so what's crazy about that, when I was in prison, there was a guy, PJ, the orderly, kind of saved my life. But PJ had cousins in Chicago, and he was invited by his cousins when he got out of prison to go to Chicago and kind of start his life again. But they were all gang members, and they were acquiring things like rocket launchers and grenades and claymores and like some anti-tank missiles and anti-aircraft flak stuff. Like, we're talking hardcore military stuff. They were buying stuff out of Afghanistan, buying stuff from the Mexican cartels. They're preparing for war. The black gangs in Chicago. And so he's like, I don't think I'm going to go to Chicago because when you go there and you're doing that stuff, you're bringing war. He's like, I don't want to bring war. I want to bring peace. You know, he was in his little spiritual phase. But that's going on. I got another friend that's in the militia in Kansas that says that there's some white guys in Kansas that have a similar armory set up, like full on. They got bazookas, the whole thing. They're ready to roll. They are ready to roll. In fact, they told him before he went into prison, if martial law declared, they'd come get him.
Oh, jeez.
So, there is stuff like that happening. Would have never met those people had I not gone to prison.
That sounds like a biker gang.
Well, I mean, that's what a white gang is. They call black gangs are hood gangs, Mexican gangs, or I don't know what they call them. And then, white gangs are called biker gangs.
Oh,
Have you ever seen a white gang full of people wearing saggy pants and sideways hats? No, there's like one white guy in the crowd of black guys that does that. Okay. When you have a white gang, they ride Harleys. Okay. All right. So this is Stephen Miller talking about we will not let this continue.
The struggle that's taking place right now is between the lawful exercise of power by the American people through a duly elected government versus the unlawful exercise of street violence in the form of domestic terrorism. So, again, the clearest example of this is when you have ICE officers who are carrying out the statutes and laws of the United States to arrest and remove illegal aliens who are being subjected to violent attacks in the conduct of their duties. That's an example of illegitimate violence, illegitimate power in the form of domestic terrorism being used to impede the conduct of their official duties. The answer to that in a civilized, modern, civilized society is to use legitimate state power, grand juries, subpoenas, arrest warrants, search warrants, and every other federal power at the disposal of the commander-in-chief to identify and find everybody who is trying to use the real and actual threat of violence to impede the conduct of these federal responsibilities and ensure that they're placed behind bars. I'm not going to give you any advanced information about what these investigations have yielded so far. The Joint Terrorism Task Force has the lead, but they have found that these campaigns, that's not, of course, only against ICE officers. There's also conversation we're having about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the 2 attempted assassinations against President Trump, the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO, the attempted assassination of Justice Kavanaugh, which, of course, had an insane sentence of 8 years. So it's the broader spectrum of political violence. But obviously, ICE as an agency has been subjected to a 9-month effort to substitute left-wing violence for the votes of the American people. No federal officer in the conduct of their duties should have to worry about being physically attacked, being physically obstructed, being physically impeded, being doxxed, having a bounty put on them. And the fact that Democrat politicians are trying to normalize this really indicates how far we've gone as a society, that there is not universal condemnation of this organized campaign of violence against ICE officers.
So,
the struggle
at the beginning of the show, I said we got to step back and look back in time, right? We look back at the Civil War and we see it through a lens, right? We go, oh, everybody knew it was about slavery, whatever. Nobody knew what it was about. We were just fighting. We're just fighting because they fought us, right? They hurt us. We got to hurt them. That's how most people ended up getting involved, or they just got recruited. You know, hey, you're hungry. Army's feeding you 3 square meals. No cots, but you get 3 square meals. So this is this idea of federal rights, state rights. When he says the Democrats are normalizing the political violence, they're like, hey, the political violence will continue until you get rid of federal troops. Aren't we on the same team? Don't we both want law and order? Is there a law we're enforcing that you'd like us not to enforce? Is there a political process to maybe get rid of that law? Would you like to engage in that? Would you like to maybe win an election without cheating? I don't know. Even if you did cheat, change the laws. You know what I mean? Like you've had control for 4 years. So again, it smells like a civil war. And the reason I do not believe the American people will fight each other. We'll have street skirmishes, but they're literally just overblown bar fights. Can we agree with that? Like when you know, Antifa and Proud Boys meet up in the streets. I mean, yeah, it's territorial. That's gang fighting, but it's like
I'll see you on the playground.
Yeah, it's like 2 prison gangs. Like, hey, we're here. The guards are the real gang, but you know, we want to have our little. I get it. I understand. Right. I'm not super threatened by it.
This is just like kids on the playground avoiding the recess lady so they could have a fight.
Yeah, but now what's happened is the fighting is starting to affect innocent people, not just the kids who choose to play. Right. It's affecting the neighbors. It's affecting the kids that get wrapped up in it that don't want to get wrapped up in it. And so he's like, we can't normalize this. So we've got to enforce law and order. Trump said it best. Republicans, the right, gets radicalized because they want law and order. When law and order returns, they're like, oh, back to normal peace, right? On the left, they get radicalized to change things from the norm. They want to progress somewhere.
Right.
There's no objective as to where they're heading.
No.
It's just, we want to head to utopia. Where is it? Over there. It's over there. It's over there.
It's in your pants.
You know?
Exactly.
Like we move from communism to hedonism back to socialism, and then we'll try a little fascism on for size. Let's see if we can get AT&T to turn over phone records. Right? They'll do whatever they got to do. I don't remember which clip this is. Okay. I had see which clip it was.
Roll clip.
Okay, so this is Donald Trump talking about he's open to invoking the Insurrection Act. Now, on January 6th, people were begging Donald Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act. Apparently, stealing a federal election won't do it, but blocking ICE deportations will.
Trump and his team are calling what's happening in Chicago, Portland, and other cities around the country protesting his immigration enforcement policy insurrection. The president said.
Now, back to the Civil War thing. Remember, deeds matter, right? What you intend and what you tell me don't matter. It doesn't matter why the husband punches his wife. He punched her, right? Explaining it, justifying it, gaslighting, that's all bullshit. You punched her.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter why. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You punched her. You denied help to federal officers. You drew a line between local and federal and said, we're not on the same side. You did that. That's states versus federal government type of stuff. That's rejecting the supremacy clause of the Constitution. So indeed, what else would you call that? I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Are there other words we
like,
can use?
Anybody want to chat?
So you can spin it. Oh, it's a reaction. Okay, so if Trump sent troops locally, what would you call that? Okay, posse comitatus. If you fight against those troops, what would you call that? Insurrection. Okay, the difference between posse comitatus and invoking the act is now that takes away posse comitatus. And what's posse comitatus? That you're not supposed to do law enforcement activities with the military, which I don't believe they are. I believe they're basically standing outside of the ICE facilities and the other federal buildings so that the actual badged law enforcement can go on the streets and they're not sitting back trying to defend a building.
Right.
Okay, so we'll continue here.
He may invoke a law. It's called the Insurrection Act that would give him even broader powers. This is one federal judge declines to block the president's deployment of National Guard troops to Illinois, and another judge blocks the move in Portland. Senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich kicks us off tonight from the North Lawn. Hi, Jackie.
Okay, so what happened there was in Portland, you had a Trump-appointed judge.
National Guard troops being deployed in both Chicago.
What's going on? Who blocked Trump from deploying troops to Portland, but a judge in Chicago and Illinois is allowing it. So now you've got two judges who have made two separate determinations on essentially what amounts to the exact same issue. So clearly it's going to make its way through the appeals into the Supreme Court. There's, in my opinion, zero chance the Supreme Court's not going to allow Trump to deploy troops.
Absolutely.
They've already multiple times decided he could. So this is just this Oregon judge throwing up an obstruction flag. That's all it is. It's basically a delay tactic.
Yep.
So Trump got asked, and here's where the Insurrection Act comes in. You can deal with governors running their mouth. You can deal with mayors running their mouth. You can deal with a mayor telling his police officers not to back up the feds, send more feds, right? You can deal with all of that.
Yep.
But what you can't deal with in this big equation is the judges. Because the judges are that separate co-equal branch of government. The only way to rein them in is politically through impeachment or the Insurrection Act. This is what Abraham Lincoln used to quell the judicial insurrection and the legislative insurrection that he experienced. He used the Insurrection Act and martial law to do it. And that is what Donald Trump is having to consider now.
Over a weekend. What?
Insurrection Act? Under what conditions or terms would you?
Well, I do it if it was necessary. So far, it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. I mean, I want to make sure that people aren't killed. We have to make sure that our cities are safe over a weekend. What?
So the priority is making the city safe, and he's open to using the Insurrection Act. Now, he also said he was open to pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, which then the White House quickly backtracked. He will not be pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell. He just said, he's like, well, I'll take a look at the information. I haven't seen anybody. Nobody's asked anything about her. And I'm going to take a look at. He's just doing the I'll take a look at anything answer. But it freaked people out. Oh, my God. All right. So this is Harry Anton, our favorite CNN pollster. Really the only good guy to watch over there other than Scott Jennings. And he's talking about how the Trump admin, just polling, and how the Trump admin is focusing too much on troops in cities and too little on lowering prices.
Yeah, it's a political loser, John. It's a political loser. Donald Trump may think it's a political winner, but it's a political loser. Oppose Trump deploying in a U.S. city, active duty U.S. military, 61%. the National Guard in particular, 58%. When you get 3 in 5 Americans agreeing on anything, you know if that is on the opposition side, it's a political loser. And among independents, who are, of course, that key block in the middle of the United States political electorate, we're talking about 2/3 of independents there and about who oppose the deployment of either active duty U.S. military or National Guard into U.S. cities.
What are the questions that people are asking, or what are the issues they see with these deployments?
Okay, look, I think it's that they don't buy Donald Trump's case for why these troops must go into the U.S. cities. So the New York Times essentially gave you a two-pronged little answer here, right? Trump may use the National Guard to intimidate rivals, or big city crime will spiral out of control if the troops don't go into cities. What you see here is the majority that takes the case is that Trump may use the National Guard to intimidate political rivals at 51%. Just 40.
Oh, yeah, because the New York Times CNN never throws out a biased poll. And even then, they still 51%. 51% are like, maybe it's too much. 51%. 42% are like, dude, cities will die without it. That's like big city crime will spiral out of control without the National Guard, 42%. Trump might use the National Guard to intimidate rivals. Oh, and by the way, it's political rivals, 51%. So you have crime will spiral out of control without it. Some politicians might be intimidated.
I know, right? And even though it's not a majority, like 42%, it's not a majority, but so what?
I want to see this one.
You want to take a 42% chance that a city is going to burn to the ground?
I want to see this same poll that says Biden may use NSA to intimidate rivals, or Biden may use FBI to intimidate rivals, star political. Okay?
100%.
I would love to see that. So let's continue here.
Percent of Americans agree with the Donald Trump stance that, in fact, big city crime will spiral out of control if the National Guard doesn't go into U.S. cities. So essentially what we're seeing here is Donald Trump's making a case, the Democratic opposition's making another case, and the Democratic opposition's case is winning here. And that is a big reason why what you see is you get about 3 in 5 Americans saying they don't want troops going into U.S. cities.
You have another really interesting way at looking at this. President Trump seems uniquely focused on Portland, on Memphis, on these cities and crime there. What do voters think he should be focused on?
Okay, so if you saw the opening slide on this segment, right, it was, has Trump taken his eye off the ball? The American people believe, yes, John Berman, Donald Trump has taken his eye off the ball. There is too much focus on putting troops into U.S. cities. 52%, the majority of Americans agree that the Trump admin is focusing too much on that. Where do they want him to go? They want him to focus on lowering prices. 75% say there's too little.
Those are not mutually exclusive.
No, I was just going to say the same thing. These are the same issues. This is the same damn issue.
No, and they're not mutually exclusive. Like, oh, he's putting too much energy on troop and too little. Well, you can have too little and too much. These are separate issues.
I know, but then the focus is on all these sanctuary cities. This is where the focus is, and that's where all of our freaking tax money is just being dithered away.
You know what? They should have had a third category here. Not enough alien disclosure, 85%. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Focus on lowering prices. This is the reason that Donald Trump was put into office, was to lower prices. And at this particular point, 3 in 4 Americans say there is too little focus. Donald Trump is focusing on the wrong things, and they don't like the way he's going about it.
Notice what he said about the 3 out of 5 Americans.
And this much more this week, Mr. Berger.
Well, look at that. 75% want lower prices. That's everybody.
I know. And it's not just like Democrat lower prices, like, hey, can you get insulin down at the cost of interest in the future?
No,
it's like,
that's everybody.
Hey, can you get the structural things that keep egg prices, up, down?
Yeah, like Obamacare.
Yeah. Now, Stephen Miller gets asked kind of the practical side of those polling questions. Of course, Americans don't want troops in the cities. My wife, this bothers her to death. We drive down the highway, and if we see a caravan of weekend National Guardsmen, she gets nervous. She doesn't like seeing Humvees on the highway. She doesn't like seeing the Bradley vehicles.
They're just training people.
I know.
They're just training.
I know that because, ROTC units, they're just driving to the training ground. They're practicing driving 45 miles an hour, bumper to bumper.
That's just your wife is married to a J6 guy, and so everything is triggered.
Well, she was like that way before.
Oh. Maybe that's why that's how come she married you.
She's always been uncomfortable with the battle rattle, right? Because it represents force. And that's, for her, she's never, as a kid, G.I. Joe and wanted to be an army guy. So, you want to put on the helmet and the bulletproof vest and walk around for Christmas or Halloween. For Christmas as an army man. For Halloween as an army man. I was like,
has she ever seen one of those trains that just goes by that has like 4 miles of tanks on it?
And she's been like, it represents a lot of death and destruction to her.
Yeah.
Whereas to me, it represents boom, boom, pew, pew. Right? It sounds fun. So
Freedom.
Freedom. All right. So this is Stephen Miller talking about why it is some cities get troops and some cities don't.
This violence from the left is being provoked, their word, by the presence of federal officials. Think about how broken of a sentence that is, right? In other words, if tomorrow we went to, say, Dothan, Alabama, and there was a federal building there, and we put 100 police officers in front of it, they wouldn't be attacked. Nobody would throw rocks at them. Nobody would try to shoot them. Nobody would do anything. They would say, hello, good morning. Maybe they get them a cup of coffee before they go out for the shift for the day. They'd ask, how are your kids doing? How are your kids doing? The fact that Democrats think that their own base cannot contain their desire to inflict violence upon the mere sight. In other words, National Guard's not being sent there proactively. They're being sent there reactively to defend ICE officers under siege. So in theory, if ICE officers were in the building and the National Guard was in the building and nobody was violently attacking them, the only thing that you would see is there's a building, there's ICE officers, there's guardsmen. The violence is entirely rioters choosing to show up and wage violence at a specific federal building. They've handed out flyers. I saw one at Antifa flyer recently.
Yeah,
this is so based. We should just play him 24 hours a day. He's so good. He's so good.
In fairness, he did lift a couple lines from Hitler's speeches at Charlie Kirk's memorial.
Oh no!
In fairness.
He's so good though.
We should play more lines from him every week. He is the hatchet man, right? I mean, he is like clear as laser focused on what the real issue is. We are not sending troops to go find you. We are reacting to you. If
Absolutely.
you didn't show up every night at the ICE building, they wouldn't be there.
Right. And the only reason I want them to come to places like Seattle and Portland is because it's a complete shit show.
And you don't know it unless you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go through at 3 p.m. on the tourist districts and it looks fine.
Sure.
But go walk around Martin Luther King Boulevard at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
See how you feel.
Right.
Go ride public transit.
You better be armed.
Yeah, exactly. it ain't a cakewalk, okay? No. I'll never forget, this was years ago, but someone took the ferry. He flew in from Georgia, took the ferry, got in at like midnight, took the train up to Pioneer Square, walked down to the ferry, then I picked him up. So when I show up and pick him up off the ferry, he's like shooken. And he's like 6'3", 350 pounds. He's like, man... He's from Atlanta. He's like, I gotta be honest with you. I haven't been outside my house past midnight in a long time. Like, that was a rough walk.
I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, he's like, woo! Pioneer Square in the middle of the night in Seattle, not a happy place.
Oh, yeah. Pioneer Square.
All right, so this is Matt Gaetz on with Andy Biggs talking about shutdown opportunity to get rid of waste as well as the Insurrection Act.
Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, has declared that Chicago is now an ICE-free zone. Does he have the authority to do that?
No, he does not. And Section 253 of the Insurrection Act gives the president some great emergency authorities to come in and actually invoke martial law, which you don't want that. That's a really radical solution. But guess what, Mr. Mayor there in Chicago? You don't have the authority to not enforce federal law. And if you're not going to enforce federal law, we have the authority and power to actually make that hurt a little bit. And that means martial law means we're going to start cutting off funding to Chicago. And he needs to know that.
Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, is
I have my doubts that they'll cut off funding because you'll be killing babies at the hospital or something. So I don't think they'll be cutting off funding to anything. But we'll see. Abraham Lincoln. Just a reminder of how this works. Abraham Lincoln, as president during the Civil War, 1861 to 1865, played a pivotal role in invoking and expanding the legal framework surrounding the Insurrection Act of 1807, a federal law that empowers the president to deploy U.S. military forces domestically to suppress insurrections, rebellions, or obstructions to federal law.
That's what we should call it from now on. Just call it an obstruction
To federal law. This
Yeah.
authority was crucial for Lincoln to respond to the secession of southern states and the outbreak of armed conflict he viewed as an insurrection against the Union. If you don't follow Union law, then you're supposed to, then you're in insurrection. All right, guys, it's time for us to move over to private. We are going to be talking about emergency appeals to the Supreme Court. We are going to be talking about digital ID. We are going to be hearing from Whitney Webb about how to resist digital ID. We have about 5 or 6 years that you must resist it with everything you have. If you can resist it for 5 or 6 years, it'll likely never be implemented.
Hey, let me do an ad real quick just before we go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I just found this one, and it's
perfect.
You're going to think that I'm crazy and not reading this right.
Do it.
Because it just seems so crazy. So this one's called, this is for Morning Kick. Here we go. Hey, you there. This video, it's from Chuck Norris. Yeah, it was insane. He's in his 80s and says he still feels like he's in his 50s. It was pretty shocking. He had some pretty cool tips, and there too, and in there too, and on he's doing, including these 3 foods that avoid like the plague. He explained all the things he was doing. It was super simple. They're so easy, and you can do them right at home. When I first saw this, I knew I had to share this with you all, since what happened to Chuck could also happen to you too. But with any new method, of course, your results can vary, but the video is definitely worth checking out. Watch this method now, clicking the link or chat and scanning the QR code on your screen. You won't believe it, as simple as, man, this is the worst.
What?
You won't believe how simple it is. Complete.
Well, I did go to it just so we could throw some more in there. Roundhouse provisions.
Oh, tell me what it is for real.
Click on it here.
Oh.
It's nothing.
What?
That's it. That's the whole. It's 2 minutes to routine to transform your health. There's a video, which we're not going to watch.
Okay.
Because we just read the ad. Okay. Chuck Norris. That's it. That's like the whole thing. Like, okay. Well, I don't know what the provisions are, but we better eat those 3 things.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Sorry. Hopefully we get credit for that ad.
If we don't, that was the worst copy ever.
Hard to read. I know there was a couple of them I saw like that. All right. So we'll be hearing from Whitney Webb talking about digital ID. We just have a few years to resist, and then it might be done.
Okay.
Their infrastructure is built. If they can't implement it, probably going to self-destruct. We're going to be hearing, I'll probably skip this video, Cornyn and about Chris, about J6. Okay. And then we are going to listen to Representative Anna Paulina Luna give her best guess on what UFOs are and what is going on. This is pretty interesting. So you're going to want to stick around for that one. Or hurry up and join Rumble Premium so you can join us. And then we're going to be talking about the digital tracking that happened at Charlie Kirk's memorial. Apparently an Israeli group is paying a couple people to track everybody that went there and influence them. Again, kind of goes to they're trying to undo the Charlie Kirk inoculation for anti-Israel kind of questioning stuff. But they turned his whole event into a big old data tracking event. So we're going to be jumping over to private. We will see those of you that stick with us over there. And if not, we will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Bye.